Hi, guys. Welcome to Indian Sound Collective. This is the first episode, and I'm super excited to update you with all the interviews that I've taken. But for today, we have Seb Taylor, who is from the UK. He's got multiple projects under his belt by the name Shakta, Hibernation, and many more. But most of us, we know him as Kaya Project. I'm here with Kaya Project asking him some personal question about his journey, about his music experience, and some suggestion and advices to upcoming music producers. So stay tuned, follow my Instagram, subscribe to YouTube channel, and you're going to get all the update. Indian Sound Collective by Chroma Dharma. Hi, Seb. So I'm going to start with some basic questions. Which part of the world or country are you from?
I'm Seb Taylor, or Sebastian James Taylor, and I currently live in a beautiful town called Lewes near Brighton in England.
How long have you been a musician for? Is this your full-time career or do you do any other jobs as well?
It's full-time music, which is not always easy to survive from, but I've been a full-time musician since 97, so that's coming up almost 30 years now.
How many music projects do you have and which are the main ones?
I mean, I'd say there's about 12 projects on the go, but active projects, 2 or 3 really. Kaya Project is my main project. And if I have any time to work on music, that's where my heart is. That's what I love to work on. But there's also, I'm here right now playing for Ollie Bookings as Shakta, which is music I started to release in 94, 95. And that's the classic Goa trance sound. And I don't really make that music anymore, but I really enjoy playing it and seeing all my old friends. And this weekend was an incredible party, incredible vibe like I haven't experienced for many years. So top marks there.
So when did you decided that you wanted to do music in life? You know, when was that moment when you're like, okay, that's it. Music is what I'm going to do.
A friend at school, Duncan Jones, gave me a cassette tape and I must have been 14. And I got hooked on the music. So heavy metal, punk. 15, I thought, maybe I could try practicing some of this. My mum had a classical guitar. I started to jam along with Motorhead. I had 2 notes. And I was like, hey, I can do this. That's the moment. I thought, you know what? And then seeing bands and thinking, you know what? I would love to be in bands like that. So forming bands with my friends, and we formed a death metal band, thrash band. And, so let's say from the age of 14, it was a burning drive, but not until 96 or 7 was it possible for me to be professional. But yeah, I'd say from the age of 14, I really wanted to be a musician.
So during your journey, were there times where you felt like quitting? Where you were like, okay, that's it. This is not working out. I'm just going to do a 9 to 5.
I'm sure every musician has, because it's not easy. And unless you're incredibly lucky and driven, there are going to be moments where it's very hard to survive. I think one advantage, I did come from a very poor background. So I was not used to having a lot of money. I knew how to survive with not a lot of money. So I was able to continue pushing through where other people might think, you know what, I might have to get some proper money in. I think that was a slight advantage. And I had strange jobs in London, which were doing things like making fun videos for tourists and taking photos of tourists and cleaning offices and all this kind of stuff. But actually, the first proper money I did get in was from music. When back in the mid-90s, labels were giving good advances, and I was lucky enough to be signed to Dragonfly. So, that was a good confidence boost. And having a good label behind you at that point of time was incredibly advantageous. So, there have, of course, been many times where you consider stopping. But, if you're a true musician at heart, that's the goal.
So from heavy metal to psytrance, music where nobody is singing and beats at 145 to 160. Why psytrance? Why not rock, jazz, or any other genres?
I like to say I didn't choose psychedelic trance. Psychedelic trance chose me, because I started off writing kind of acidic techno breakbeat kind of stuff. And this is when I was at college, and that was under the name Digitalis. And a friend of mine just happened to be good friends with Andy Guthrie, played him a cassette, and Andy loved it. And the local club was called Space Hopper. And they said, you could be a resident. I said, okay, great. It's a goer club. And I said, I don't know what that means. Do you mean they're goers? They're going all night dancing? I'd never heard. I turned up. The regular DJs were people like Sioshi, Tristan, Man Red Man, Sid Shanty, James Monroe. So within a few months, they'd all been hearing my stuff and they all liked it. There was a real connection there, a real synergy. And I was warmly welcomed into this scene. And then Shakta started as a side project. It was like a one track that was fun and a blast, totally inspired by all the music I'd been hearing.
Right.
And it got signed to Dragonfly very quickly, and my whole life suddenly changed. So I was absorbed into the trance thing.
When was the first time you heard your psytrance track?
Okay, so from heavy metal, my second girlfriend, Marie, had a cassette of psychedelic music like Gong, Osric Tentacles. And so that was an introduction into psychedelic.
Right.
Osric Tentacles.
Yes.
Then you go to the festivals, you see, hang on, what's this other band? Eat Static.
Yeah.
I love Eat Static.
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Biggest inspiration.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think Eat Static is probably, and the Squat Parties of London, which is like a mainly acid techno kind of stuff. You wouldn't really call it trance, but it's all connected.
All right.
So around that time, I'm going to say 92, 93. So Eat Static is probably the first real psytrance-y related stuff, but they were doing a lot more interesting kind of break beats as well, and drum and bass and chill out.
All right.
So I would say Osric Tentacles was the gateway, and Eat Static opened up the window.
So nowadays, there are so many presets, samples, and sound banks that are available, which is making music sound more monotonous and less musical. And people are becoming more brand oriented. What is your take on it? What do you think about the whole process of making music?
Here's the thing. I would say when I was producing most of the Shakta stuff, it wasn't a technical exercise. It was all about creativity and raw energy. At the point at which it started to change, I'm going to say the year 2000, it suddenly became very much a technical exercise. It was all about the frequency of the bass and the kick, and you'd spend half the time just doing that. And to be honest, that bored me. I was much more interested in the musical creativity. So that's kind of the time I started to change the sound a bit of Shakta, and it kind of I was losing interest because of the influx of the concentrating on the technical side of things. So I kind of stopped doing Shakta around 2004, completely stopped it.
Yeah.
And I haven't really made trance since then. But that is the point at which the production process took over from the creativity process and became boring for me. But there are people out there who are amazing at it. But I don't know any of the new trance that's out there. I don't follow the scene really. When I go to play, I play the music from back in the day. And, sometimes it's just a simply wonderful vibe.
Right.
But I'm not really in touch with much of the new stuff going on.
Of course, I understand to make the final track, you need a well-treated room and a studio. But not everybody can afford a studio. What if someone just has a laptop and headphones? Do you think he can still get better results?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not talking about trance here because I don't really work in trance.
Yeah.
I imagine you'll go, if you've got a well-treated room and a sub bass and good monitors listening at high volume, that's going to be optimum. But for what I do with Kaya Project, it's much more organic. I like to mix very quietly. I've produced tracks on headphones as well. Some of the albums when we first came to India, 2003, I was literally on some Sennheiser headphones in hotel rooms, and the tracks were released. So I think if you know your sound and you know your headphones, I think you can do perfectly good stuff without a fancy studio space.
I also see that a lot of new producers are more focused on record labels and that affects their creativity. What do you think about this?
I could say the industry has changed so much since the time when I started. When I started, it was of paramount importance that you were signed to a label. Otherwise, people wouldn't hear you.
Right.
Now, it's so much easier to make the music. It is so much easier to get yourself out there on social media, but it's so much harder to get heard because there's so many other people doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're a new artist, being on label is amazing because it's a platform of quality, and people, when they're searching for music, they might automatically go to this kind of pre-approved label, if you know what I mean. So if you're part of a recognized label, it will certainly help you at the beginning of your career. But having said that, from my point of view, and I've been lucky enough to be on some great labels like Interchill and Aleph Zero and Phantasm and Dragonfly. If you get to a certain level nowadays, it's much better for you to do it independently because the labels simply can't afford to pay the advances or what you would make from your own fan base.
Right.
So I'd say if you're just starting out, label is fantastic. If you have a following, if you've got 100,000 followers on Spotify kind of thing, do it yourself, and Bandcamp and all this stuff. So there are pros and cons depending on which stage of your career you're at, I would say.
Okay, so there's this cold war between DJs and producer. I don't know if I should say war, but there's this kind of a gap between DJs and music producers because music producers are like, oh, he's not even making his own music. But then let's say, for example, if a producer is booked for 4 hours and if he's doing 2 hours of music, of his original music, then the remaining 2 hours, he has to do someone else's music. In short, he also is going to do a DJ set. So what do you think about this whole misunderstanding, or what is your take on this?
Some festivals like ZNA, I think, do something very good, which is they call it a producer set. So then you know it's someone who's made their own music and they're DJing it. So it's neither a live set and it's neither a DJ set. So you kind of know what to expect. Because, I mean, for example, I get a lot of DJ bookings, but I never wanted to be a DJ. So it was simply because I produce music and I have the name and people recognize it. And even the very first time I DJ'd was in front of 300 people with DAT machines in Athens. And the guy said, oh, do a DJ set. I said, I don't know how. Yeah, just mix the DAT to the DAT. So I played. It was great.
Do you think they both play an equally important role in the music scene?
They're both different. It's completely different. A DJ has more opportunity to tell a story because they can pull from lots of different strands and really paint a picture. A producer, it's very much an expression of the artist kind of thing. So as long as there's a mixture of both on the night, it's perfect.
What is a live set according to you?
I've been through every permutation of performance, as you can imagine, from live band with the guitars and drums, and then when I started Digitalis, it was a Atari ST and samplers and floppy disks, and then it was like a DAT machine with a few synthesizers on the top, and it's a big hassle to play a live set. And the last time I did it, I prepared a really good set with a multi-track playback unit and filters and MIDI clock and everything. And within the first track, the mixing desk failed. So I just ended up playing a CD. I was like, I spent all this time getting the equipment, the hand luggage. It's kind of, I honestly don't think people on the dance floor care if it's live or not.
Yes.
If you're playing good music, they enjoy it. And I think it's so much more important than I don't know who you're trying to prove something to by plugging in loads of cables and all this. But that's how I feel now. I'm an older guy. When I was younger, I was certainly more happy to bring all the equipment and plug it in and go through the hassles. But then you're so stressed out all the time, wondering whether something's going to fail. And something usually does. There's usually one cable or one adapter or something that doesn't work.
I think the definition is changed. A lot of organizers and music producers now think that if you are playing your own music, it's a live set.
You know, I think that's probably right. I think the definition of live is the equivalent of producer set. In the trance scene, at least. you know. I mean, it's different in different countries and different expectations, you know. A lot of people are using Ableton now. I don't use Ableton. If I play live, I play from Cubase. So it's definitely an old school way to do it. But more and more frequently, I'm going to the old USB pen drives, reliable, very rarely fails. And, you know, the people on the dance floor are happier without any glitches and skips and, you know.
So, a lot of artists have released good music on good labels, but things are still not working out for them. What are your suggestions or advices to these artists?
It depends why you're in music, you know, because there are so many people in it for so many different reasons. If you're in it for the love of the music, you're going to keep doing it. If you're an artist, you know, that's what you do. Some people might be in it for the money. Some people might be in it for the travel. Some people might be in it for so many different reasons.
Right.
But if you're in it for the love of the music, then, you know, you'll still be there.
And what are your advices as well to upcoming music producers?
It's hard for me to say because when I started, very different landscape in the music industry. But, okay, I would say 3 things: tenacity, ability, and opportunity. Most important, tenacity. Don't give up. Keep on doing it. Obviously, if you stop doing it, that's finished.
Right.
Ability. You do actually have to be able to make some music that other people are connecting with. And, you know, if you're doing something that you love from your heart, people are going to find, they're going to find that, they're going to latch onto it. And opportunity is luck. You need so much luck.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be in the right time at the right place. A lot of this does involve going out and meeting people in the real world and getting connections at maybe at events or other producers. And this is where real connections are made. I know it's easier online to send emails now, but I mean, labels are receiving so many demos and, you know, DJs have hundreds of people sending them messages all the time.
Right.
And if you're actually out at the event and you're connecting at a human level, then this is where, you know, lifetime bonds are made and good friendships, and that can help you with the music as well. So, yeah.
Which is the best gig you ever played?
So many beautiful places, and, you know, even sometimes the smaller places and small clubs have such a great energy.
Yes.
It's impossible to say,
Sure.
you know, because if you're playing in Guatemala underneath an active volcano, or if you're on a beautiful beach or in a jungle, or, you know, it's endless, especially in this scene. You go to some of the most beautiful places in the world and you're with your friends. There are a lot of magic moments.
Why the name Kaya Project and Shakta?
Shakta obviously has the Indian connotations. So the Shakti was like the feminine, divine goddess energy. And Shakta, as I understood it, was someone who is devoted to this. Who like follows that energy.
Beautiful, yeah.
And that's how I feel in life. Kaya Project, I took from Tibetan Buddhism because I was very interested in trilogies, the 3 aspects of things. So in all cultures, you can find this very interesting breakdown, like mind, body, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Psychon, Codon, Somaton. And Kaya was from the Trikaya, which is the Tibetan Buddhism, 3 Dharma, bodies of Buddha. And yeah, it has many different meanings in different languages as well. The strangest thing is, though, Shakta, when I first went to Israel, it means to smoke. Shakta. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And Kaya means to smoke.
Yeah, that's in Nepali, isn't it? I remember Kaya in Nepal.
So, you know, all these coincidences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about Indian Sound Collective?
I'm going to say thank you to Rutu Kromadama for this interview, Indian Sound Collective. It was an enjoyable experience, and I like the music you're making as well, Kromadama. So we're getting some remixes going on in the future. And yeah, thank you. It's been a very nice time in Goa. Thank you. I'm quite a private guy. I'm happy for everyone to listen to the music. They can take everything they want to know about me from my music. I'm not a fan of interviews. I told you that. You had to convince me at the party. No, I can't think of something. Oh my God, where to start? I've been doing this for such a long time and there have been so many ridiculous situations. But one thing does spring to mind in Sweden. at a festival when I was doing a live set, a proper live set, mind you, with the mixing desk and the keyboard and the Atari and everything. And halfway through, I think halfway through the first track, my belt broke. So my trousers, I spent the whole gig holding my trousers up with these 3 Swedish guys at the front laughing at me like, oh man. I couldn't do anything on the desk because every time I put my hands, my trousers would fall down. So that's a moment I would like to forget, but it always makes me smile.